What's going on YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. And in this video I'm going to be doing my top 5 safeties heading into the 2023 NFL season. This list will include strong safeties and free safeties. It's both types of safeties in the list. And without further ado, let's begin. Coming in at number 5, I have Harrison Smith, who identifies as a free safety for the Minnesota Vikings. Harrison Smith's been one of the top safeties of the era. Since he's came into the league in 2012 with the Vikings, he's just been a great player for them. There was a point in time that I think there was a strong argument for him to be the top safety in the NFL. I think that time has passed. I think he's past his prime, but he's still playing at a high level. Even in his veteran years. He's coming off of a season where he tied his career high in picks. He had 5 interceptions, he had a forced fumble, he had 85 combined tackles, and the stats here I'm about to mention are all according to Pro Football Reference, and this, even more so than the corners, is a little bit different depending on what you're looking at. Pro Football Focus might have a different numbers here than Pro Football Reference, because when it comes to safeties, it's kind of hard sometimes to pinpoint were they really the ones who allowed that completion? Was that their zone? Was that their man? It kind of makes that a little difficult, but still here around the ballpark. So Harrison Smith in 2022, 79.5% completion percentage quarterbacks had when throwing his direction. Not that great for Harrison Smith, but the completion percentages are going to be higher on safeties than it will be for corners. But when they threw in his direction, they had a 73 rating. That is pretty good for Harrison Smith. So like I said, Harrison Smith, he's always been one of the top guys, a hard-hitting safety, one of the top of the era, and I still have him in the top 5 of this list. Coming in at number 4, I have Tyron Matthew, the strong safety for the New Orleans Saints. Tyron Matthew's a guy who, over the last couple of years, for whatever reason, has lost a little bit of his respect in terms of on-field play. There was a stretch there in 2019 and in 2020 where a lot of people considered him the top safety in the NFL, and now over the last 2 years, his final year with the Chiefs and now this past season with the Saints, he's lost that kind of regard. But this past season, he had 3 interceptions with the Saints. He had a forced fumble. He had 91 tackles. Tackling has always been a struggle for Tyron Matthew, to keep in mind, but completion percentage when quarterbacks would throw his way was 62.7, which is pretty good for a safety, and a 77.4 passer rating. Tyron Matthew's one of those guys who's been really good, in that strong safety spot, a guy who's going to blitz a little more often than a free safety, a guy who can also play corner a little bit, and he's also been great in the flat. Like I mentioned, he's never been, a hard, a great tackler, but he's always been a hard-hitting safety, and I think he's, he can do a lot of things at his position, and he's always been considered a small guy, 5'9", under 200 pounds, but he plays like he's 6'3", 225 pounds. I mean, he's been that. That's why he's gotten the nickname the Honey Badger, and he's another guy who's been one of the best of the era. He may be past his prime, but he's still one of the top safeties in this league. Coming in at number 3, I have Kevin Byard, who's played a lot of strong safety and free safety in his career. This season he's coming off of a 4 interception season, and he had 108 combined tackles. Kevin Byard's another guy. He's starting to enter his veteran years. He's been on the Tennessee Titans his entire career from 2016 to 2022. When quarterbacks were throwing his direction in 2022, they had a 64.8 completion percentage and a 77.8 rating. Pretty solid numbers there for Kevin Byard. He's still that anchor of that Tennessee Titans defense. I think Kevin Byard is still that guy. He's another guy who's kind of small for a safety, under 6 feet tall, 212 pounds, which is, kind of around the average, but a little lower in the height, but he has not let that affect his play. Now, I believe that the top 2 safeties I have here are the undisputed top 2 safeties in the NFL, but it's very hard to rank them 1 and 2. I think I'm okay with having either 1 and 2, but I'm going in this direction, and I have Darren James at number 2 safeties. Look, Darren James can easily be the top safety in the NFL, and I have no problem with putting him at top safety in the NFL. But I have him here at number 2. You know, in his first 5 years with the Los Angeles Chargers, he's just been a game wrecker. You know, he had 2 interceptions this past season, 2 forced fumbles. He had 4 sacks, 115 total tackles. Quarterbacks, when thrown in his direction, had a 65.5 completion percentage and 82.4 passer rating. You know, those are somewhat slightly above average numbers, but not elite level numbers. But Darren James is one of those guys that I feel like you just have to watch him play to understand what he brings to the table. I mean, he can lock down almost any tight end, almost any wide receiver. He's just that guy in coverage. And, you know, the reason I said almost is Travis Kelce really cooked him in both matchups this past year. That's really the only guy that Darren James has really struggled to be able to lock down, Travis Kelce. But Darren James, you know, a couple of dirty hits this season that he faced an ejection in one. But you know, he's still, that's just part of his play. He's a hard-hitting guy. You know, he's not going to take anything lightly. And yeah, coming in at number 1, I have Minka Fitzpatrick. Now, Minka Fitzpatrick, I feel like, was one of the most underrated players in the NFL leading up into the season, and I feel like he's finally getting the recognition he deserves. The free safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, obviously, Minka Fitzpatrick spent the first year and a half of his career with the Miami Dolphins, and midway through the 2019 season, during that season that it felt like the Dolphins were purposely trying to tank, he got traded to the Steelers, and now for the past 3.5 years, he's been on the Pittsburgh Steelers. This season, he's coming off of a 6 interception season, a total of 96 tackles, and quarterbacks had a 61 completion rating when throwing in his direction, and an 84 passer rating when throwing in his direction. Very good numbers there. He has a low missed tackle percentage along with everyone else on this list, something I should have mentioned beforehand, but you know, Minka Fitzpatrick, I think, yeah, him and Darren James are neck and neck. I'm going to edge Minka Fitzpatrick because his numbers are slightly better than Darren James this past season. So I'm a lean towards Minka right now, but Minka and Darren James are right there neck and neck. And you know, there's some guys that I left off this list. A guy like Micah Hyde for the Buffalo Bills. He missed pretty much all of last year. Main reason for keeping him off this list. Talanoa Hufanga for the San Francisco 49ers, a guy who really broke out this past season for the 49ers. I think he's going to be one of the top safeties for the next 3-4 years in the future. I think he's definitely the future at safety right now. One of the top, maybe the top young safety. And what I mean by young, someone within their first 3 or 4 seasons in the league. But these are the top 5 right now heading into 2023, according to me. Comment down below what you guys think about all this. And other than that, I'll see you guys next time.